All right, AI is all the rage, measurement, processes, systems, it's all being wiped out. What you knew before is just throw it out the window. It's all going to be new. It's all going to be different. And I hate to tell you this, but it changes every day. So I have an expert who does measuring, creates processes and systems, dives deep into your business. And we were talking in the green room how AI is changing everything. So I wanted to say so many things, but I'm like, no, we got to save it. We got to save it for this discussion. So here we are, Chris Mercer. Chris, tell us a little bit about yourself and welcome to our podcast today.
Thank you. So myself, along with my co-founder, Jeff Sauce, in a company called Measure You that teaches individuals and small business owners how to measure their marketing, right? How to tell what Facebook is doing versus email versus that retargeting on Google Ads, that sort of stuff. So how to measure all of that. But as part of that, I mean, we've been doing that for over a decade now. As part of that, it's like, how do you keep up with the times? And now it's, do you have to do all the work on your own, or can you use AI and automation? And so now it's, okay, doing all of this measurement marketing, but how do you do it with AI? How do you do it with automation? And in order to do that, because I am so systems oriented, it was, what's the system to do that? And they doing that? Why is it harder for people to kind of, they're using AI and going, well, it kind of sounds like AI. They're not really getting a good result from it. And why is that? So we went into this deep dive of that for our own team so we can figure it out. And now that's what we're also teaching. So that's for sure what we can talk about, is helping people get unstuck with jumping into this very, very necessary thing that I think every business needs to do now.
And, I think we were talking in the green room, it's really a mindset. Like when you assess or you're doing something, the first thing you need to ask is AIify it.
Yeah.
Right. So
exactly right. Yeah.
We were doing a process because now we are doing podcasting for people, right? So it's new. So we wrote out this process. And my question was, well, how do we dehumanize it? I want to make it as systemized and have AI do as much as possible. So we checked each task, human or non-human, like human or AI. And some of the things, well, we thought it has to be human, but maybe we can make this part AI. How much human content you need to have in a thing. Are you seeing that? Or what is the mindset that people need to shift to now that AI is really becoming amazing?
Yeah, I'll give you two. One is just what I would say is their shift in perspective. And this was for me. This is my personal experience. Was in January of this year. Right? So January of 2025. I have been using AI like everybody else has been using AI since November of 2022 when ChatGPT first came out with its magic. But I was also getting the response I think that most other people complain about with AI, which is, oh, it sounds like AI, or it sounds like a high school kid reporting on the thing you really wanted, but it's not the actual thing you wanted. It's like it has no soul. It's like a shell of itself.
That's what I hear. It has no soul.
Right.
That's what I tell people. If you write a book, AI, it's not going to have any soul.
It just reads like AI, right? You can just tell AI. So what I realized was the thing that was holding me back it wasn't AI's fault. Because that's what I think. And that's because the AI companies, they're out there saying, oh, we're amazing, you use it, but they're not telling you how to use it properly.
Right.
And the trick to this is it was a switch in mindset. And this is what occurred to me one day. I was like, why, like when you prompt AI, what we're really telling it are directions. We give it directions. Right. You are a copywriter. I need you to write an email that has a this and does a this, and the CTA is this. Now give me the email. And then you get that high school kid book report kind of email. And you're like, this is not really great, but at least I don't have to do it. So there's that. But then what I realized was like, well, AI like humans do that. If I was going to tell you I needed you to do an email, I would have to give you the process for how to do an email because you wouldn't know how to do it otherwise. I would have to teach it to you. So humans do this naturally, which is why they're teaching AI. But this is the big thought I had, is like, oh my, why are we teaching AI anything? It literally knows all of history of humanity up until this point, right? And it's getting it more and more and more every second of every day. It's getting more and more and more. So it already knows all the hows. All I need to do is define the result. So my prompt, and this is my initial experiment in January, my prompt went from, you're a copywriter writing an email, blah, 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 to show me an email for this target audience where when they read the email, they automatically are already so excited. They're predicting how they're going to show up to the web, take all of the notes, and imagine how their life has changed, right? That's a result.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden,
it the result. You're telling it.
I'm telling it
you're
the result.
You're going to act as this, but
figures out
what I want. Yeah.
It figures out the how. I don't need to tell it it's a copywriter, because why would I limit it by saying you have to think like a copywriter? Why would I do that? I don't care how you think about it. I need the result of that email. And that's why it's not, I want an email with a good click-through rate, because then you're going to get an email with a good click-through rate, but it's not what you really want as the result. What you really want is them excitedly registering for your webinar,
Yeah.
thinking already about how magical transformation might be occurring. And this just might be the thing I've been looking for that's going to solve my problem. That's what you want. So
Wow.
make that email and you just prompt it that. You will get, talk about soul. Now, don't get me wrong, there's refinements to this, but when that, it went from high school book report kind of feel to
Yeah.
like, oh my God, like that's good. I like this. So then we started doing more things like, okay, now we're going to audience and make little avatars that we can give it knowledge, right?
Right.
Or here's our products and services knowledge. And we now it's a little more specialized, but it's that same thing. We don't tell it, the writer, it knows that. Why would I limit every time we give it a how statement, we limit AI's capability,
Well, it's
right?
really
And I don't want to
true.
limit its capability.
And I was trained that you have to tell it who it is. Expert,
It's exactly right.
right?
Yep.
But you're saying don't tell it to act as an expert blank. Tell it the result you want. Like in book writing, you may say would you say act or Times best-selling ghostwriter?
Right. Why?
Or you just
You
say
don't want
write a
that. You
book
don't
that
want that as a
would be.
result.
Yeah, the result would be write a book
Yes.
that would be a New York Times bestseller.
Yeah. Likely to be a New York Times bestseller. Exactly right.
Yeah.
Yep. That's exactly right. And all of a sudden you get a better result because it's actually giving you the result and it's not listening to your how. In fact, one of my first things I'll do is, and this is all ping pong prompting. It's another brand we run called Profit School. But if everybody goes, you can go to profitschool.com/AI guide.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody can go there now. This goes to a Google Doc. It is not gated.
Right.
It is a Google Doc, but it's got these prompts on it. And the whole idea of this process is the first conversation is let's get clear on the result that I want.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not write me an email series. It's let's talk about the email series I want to write. And then it goes back and forth and asks a bunch of questions. Do you want it this? What's it for? Who's it? It thinks about all that. And then once you've determined that, right? And it's really determined, like using that New York Times bestseller. Now it really understands what you mean by New York Times bestseller. Right. Then you say, okay, now that we've had this discussion, we both understand what we're trying to do. What's the prompt that I should have given you to do that? Then it writes its own prompt. And that's the beauty of AI. Humans should not be prompting AI to do stuff other than help me figure out what I want to do. That's it. After we get the result defined, AI should then write its own prompts for itself. So then you take that prompt, you start a new conversation with your best prompt, but it's because it's from AI to AI that prompt is massive and it is specific and it is in roles and it'll still follow the same thing, URA, blah, 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 but it'll change what it needs.
Right.
And it'll give very specific directions because it knows how to do that. As a human, I never would. So I'm just like, you tell yourself how to do the thing that we just determined that we need to do, that we both agree is the result. And then AI is so much easier and you get 100x results, like difference in like I said, bliss versus like soulful. And you're just like, oh, that's what it lit me up. Because in January, I was finally like, oh my gosh, I figured this thing out. I have to figure out how to just get clear on the result and then tell AI what's the prompt to get that result. And I use AI to get clear on the result.
Yeah.
So it knows. And that was huge for us.
Huge. And let me ask you, I want to go back, rewind that thing just a little bit. Do you ask it to ask you questions? Do you say, this is the result I want. Ask me questions so you're perfectly clear on.
Yes, but better. Yes, but better. Because this is the other mistake I think people make is conversations where AI is questions. Right. So we train the AI. And this is in that ping pong prompt where it'll say the first step, you'll see it, where it basically says, go through and analyze on a scale of 1 to 10, how much you understand the result that I'm trying to get and the hidden intention behind the result. So it understands why I'm trying to get there. Because I might say, let's build a hot air balloon to get across the cavern or to get across the point A to point B. Yeah. And AI's, I understand you're trying to get from point A to B. We could just use a car. There's a bridge. Let's just do that. Why build a hot air balloon unless there's a reason for that? And this happens all the time. We have these great ideas, but sometimes we make things a little too complicated. But if it understands why we're result, it can offer better ways to get there.
Right.
So when it's going through this process, it rates itself on a scale of 1 to 10. For the questions that it has, it then, and this is the key, provides the most useful answer for those questions. So it's not giving you work. In fact, all my AIs know this about me. They have specific instructions. I do not want to do work. If you give me a question that is open-ended question, it is struggle. I have to create a correct answer. But if you give what is, and I'll use different phrases, but I'll say highly likely to be the most useful answer for those questions, or give me the most possibly perfect answer you can think of for those questions, right?
So things like that. Give you the questions, and then you say, give me the best answers for those questions.
It'll give you the questions and here's the question. And then you can get really good at this where it's like, give me the question, give me the answer you think I would give you, right?
Yeah.
There's another way to ask that. So it gives you the question, it gives you the answer.
Yep.
And because it is easier for you to recognize a correct answer than it is to create a correct answer, right? And AI wants to help us. It's a little puppy dog wagging its tail.
Yeah.
So it's like, I tell it hurts me as a user. It makes me struggle when you ask me questions. Instead, give me the answer so I can recognize and I will confirm they are still correct. And then it lights up and it's massive answers where I'm like, yeah, that's right. I don't know if I would have answered that, but I should have. That's the better answer. I don't know that I would have said that, but that is the better version of it. Now, what's happening, and this is my favorite phrase in AI. It's not my phrase. I wish it was, but it's first you learn the prompt, then you prompt to learn. And in this ping pong prompting process, it's teaching you stuff as you goes through your answers and it's coming up with its own answers. You're going, oh, that's really good. I didn't think about that. You're right. I would have to. And now you're thinking about stuff, getting clear on the result, getting more involved, getting more excited, working with AI as like this tool, which again, it's not you. It's still you. You're still in the work.
Yeah.
But it's like a partnership versus like a desktop toy,
For
so
sure.
that's been
Tell us again where we go to get the ping pong prompt thing.
So this will be profitschool.com /AI guide, all one word.
Okay.
So profitschool.com /AI guide, all one word. And that'll give you the ping pong prompts and the directions for how to do it. But it's been amazing.
I love that.
That thing itself has been game changing.
Yeah, because that is different than what I've been doing. So the one thing we've done to make it have more soul and sound like us or me is I created my own custom GPT. So my team can go in and then it sounds like me versus sounding, soulless or like nobody. It has like phrases and things like that we're training it to do that.
Yep.
But otherwise, it doesn't sound right. So, yeah, I would say that. What are some of the other, besides ChatGPT, what else are you using that you're loving?
We mostly, so me personally, my partner Jeff, a lot of ChatGPT stuff, and we use a tool called Typing Mind, which is really useful because Typing Mind is one of those tools that you can plug into Claude or ChatGPT or Gemini or Grok or whatever you want to do. And so you can use the one tool and then switch models as you go. This is helpful for some people who are like, well, I like how Claude writes, but I like how ChatGPT thinks.
Right.
So you can just flip it as you're going in the conversation, same conversation, but different models. That's useful for that. I have really, really on the Gemini universe, Google's AI.
Really? You like Gemini?
For two reasons. One, everyone's paying for it if you got a workspace account. It's included. You're already paying for it. Should be using it.
Yeah.
Connected into Google Drive.
Yeah.
So now it can reference Google Drive stuff you already have, right, and help you out because it has better data. And between Gemini, now it's got its video ability, the Canvas ability, its deep research ability, and Notebook LM, which is a whole other thing on itself that you can take advantage of for note taking. We've used it. We built a Notebook LM that grades our webinars. So when we do a webinar, we give it to the Notebook LM and the Notebook LM creates a podcast that teaches the webinar host how to make a better webinar next time because it'll grade it and then say, here's how we think you should, this is how we think you should say it next time to make the hook a little better. That
do
sort of
that
stuff.
In the podcast mode? Because I put stuff in and then it just creates a podcast, but you've given it instructions and say, teach us how to make this better.
Because you only have 500 characters, at least that was most current truth with it. So you have 500 characters, so you only have a tiny bit, but you say, this is a podcast specifically for the webinar, or we did one. So we'll use Notebook LM to do books. So like Unreasonable Hospitality is a great book for customer service. We were doing that as a team. So I created a podcast using that podcast, put it in a notebook and did a bunch of YouTube videos where it was. So it really understood what this book was about. And then we said, okay, you're going to be talking to the Measure You customer experience team member. Your job is to teach them about the concepts in Unreasonable Hospitality using examples that relate to measureyou.com. That was it. And that's exactly what it did. So it would say, here's how they did the beer cart and blah, 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 blah. But in Measure You, you might want to do it by doing this, this, and this. And so it made customized training that our team could go through now.
Wow.
And you can those podcasts, change the prompt, get another podcast, download.
So now you've made an audio course, right? It doesn't have to be the owner, but you've now created a course with that. Oh my gosh, that's genius.
Yeah. It's amazing what these tools can do. And this is honestly me personally, why I try to keep my focus in the Google side of things.
Yeah.
Because it's like you said, this stuff changes every 15 seconds. There's probably new AI tools that have come out in our conversation alone here.
I know.
But that's just the world. So
Yeah, we
I'm
used to
trying to
use
really stay with
Jasper.
Google and
Like
learn it.
4 years ago
Yeah.
or 5 years, we were using Jasper, which now we don't use Jasper
Yeah.
anymore because that's old school. I don't even know
I
what
mean,
Jasper's doing.
that used to be the thing. I
Yeah.
remember. Yeah.
You know
Yep.
what I was going to tell you in the green room too was Jen Spark just came out with that it connects to your Gmail account or to Google,
Yes.
right? It'll go through, you can connect it to your emails through your emails and tell you, it'll make automated responses, drafts, and put it in your draft folder. So it's
Yeah.
already written a response to all your emails. You go through the draft,
Yep.
decide what you want to send or what you want to change. It also
Yep.
connects to your Google Drive and it'll connect to your calendar. So if someone said,
That's
hey, can
exactly
you
right.
meet July 1st or 2nd? It'll go into your calendar and it'll book the appointment based on your availability. That's
It's
crazy.
it's shocking. That's Google. Google's doing that. Like
Yeah.
that's Google Gemini. They're just because they have all the data, And that's another reason where I'm kind of like I'm leaning Google for this stuff because I figure
Yeah.
they're going to win the race when it comes to they know what's on my phone. They know the most, I think, of everything.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm like, if I get really good at the Gemini stuff and can stay there and hook it into Google Drives and just sort of keep it on that
Yeah.
ecosystem, it's easier. 18 different tools where everything's sort of scattered around.
Yeah.
And it can do a lot. It can do a lot of stuff. It gets better all the time.
That's true. So I don't even know, is GenSpark owned by Google or no? It's a separate. I wonder hopping in.
They might also do it, but Google recently had their Google I/O conference in
Yeah.
like at the end of May, early June. And so when they did that, they were also doing that. And that's the problem with a lot of the AI tools right now
Right.
is they're more just features that then get absorbed, kind of like the first person that made the iOS app for a flashlight. They made $1 million. And then Apple was like, now we have a flashlight in the iOS and that app goes away.
Yep.
Now you don't have that app anymore. So that's kind of AI. Everyone goes, yeah, it's good. Now we do that operating system.
Yeah. They're going to absorb or buy out somebody. Like
either way, it's coming into the mothership and the rest of us get it that way, because I definitely, like me personally, I would rather the Google side of things too, because it's integrated. They know their back end,
Have you tried,
but this is what's coming down.
have you tried Chat Hub? Have you heard of
Not.
that? So Chat Hub's pretty cool. A Chrome plugin, or I think you can pay for it. But what it'll do is up to 6 different platforms at one time. So you put one prompt in.
Gotcha.
Like you could create that mega prompt even in Chat.
Interesting. And so all of them kind of go at the same time.
And then they just rolled out that over on the right-hand side, it'll analyze all of them and tell you which one they think is the best.
That's cool.
Or otherwise you got to analyze yourself, which before it can be a little overwhelming, I tell people. But now it's going, hey, here's a summary of all the ones. And then this is what we recommend, like the best of for each section that you should use. So I found that to be pretty cool, because
that is a cool service. Of that.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I love that a lot. And the other thing that's good about that is like a protected kind of space because Google's not going to interface that because they would have to interface all the other chat people, which they want to do. So why would they do that? So that's a good, I love that. It's a great idea.
So what are you thinking, like someone who's not really AI oriented, which a lot of these small business owners aren't and things, what should they be looking at? Like the first thing, like, hey, we're coming into your business, measure this or, look at this first. That's going to help you move the needle the most for you and create this process or system.
So when it comes to measurement, you could obviously ask AI that, right?
Yep.
Specifically, what I would do is use the phrase measurement marketing.
Okay.
There are two directions to ask. One is when you call it marketing measurement, which is kind of what the corporate world calls it. But there's a lot in there that's enterprise. It's not really useful for small businesses just because it's too complicated and robust and you would never need to buy a $25,000 tool per month, right?
Yeah.
So, but measurement marketing is more for that smaller business to say, okay, I need to know what my numbers are, but so really, I don't really care what the numbers are. That's what you really care about. So what actions do I need to take, right? What's the result I want? I want more sales. Like I could care less what the numbers are. I just want more sales.
You had a 20% open rate or your social media got X amount of views, but then, okay, now what?
Yeah. And so that's what you do is you go to AI and say, okay, I've got this post. Here's what the post I wrote. It's not really getting a whole lot of engagement. What do you think from a measurement marketing perspective that I might be able to address? Because the measurement component is going to think numbers, right? And it's going to start to think about some of that. The marketing perspective now says, the actions that this might lead you to take. So you might say, here's an example of a post that's not doing all that well. Here's the other 2 that did really well. Analyze the difference from a measurement marketing perspective. How can I take this? What should I do next? Should I do more posts like that or less? And then have AI kind of come help you with that. Just that. Now that's not the ping pong style prompting we talked about before.
Right.
That's just kind of quick and dirty, but that will still get you up and running and get you unstuck. And that's where I think a lot of people is that unstuck feeling of like when I realized that AI and I do this. If there's anything mentally that I am stressing over, not the business of business stress, I get all
Yeah.
that, but like just the, oh, I have to write this email, or I have to write the copy. I'm like, why? Or I have to decide anything.
Yeah.
I'm like, why am I deciding? AI knows the answers. I just need to get the answers out of AI. How do I have a conversation that gives me those answers?
Yeah.
And that's what I do.
And
And then I go to AI and say, hey, what do you think I should do? And it goes, oh, this. And I go, yeah, okay, that sounds good. And it does, I don't have to agree with it.
right.
Right. But it gets me unstuck and out of my own head, where sometimes you got this plenty, especially small business owner, you have so many things going on. There's like spinning plates, and I want the plates I need them to not spin and not be there, because that's energy that I'm using to do that. So if I can go to AI, have a quick 10-minute conversation, get clarity on something, be like, cool, I know what to do now. That's excellent. No more plate spinning. I can buy resources. That's where
almost having, writer's block in a way.
Yeah.
You don't know what to do next. And I think it's like whenever you listen to an inspiring video, or, you're trying to get some advice, it's like clicking ideas off in your head. Even when you have a conversation, you're like, oh, yeah, now that doesn't make sense, but it makes sense for me to do this. Or, yeah, why didn't I think of that?
Yeah.
Yeah. But then we're going to get to the point where we're relying on it too much.
Well, and that's the thing is probably, but think about that. So the way I think about AI is like replace the word AI with computer in the 80s.
Yeah.
I rely on computers too much. What we have now.
Yeah.
This is what happens. You are relying on them all the time. They're everywhere. They're in your car. They're in your phone. They're in your lights. They're everywhere. So yes, you will. And so the answer is not, well, how do you not rely on it more? It's just, you should be relying on it. And how do you get more from it? Because it's going to free up your time to do things you really, really, you can do that AI can't. You can live in this space in your own mindset, your own head, your own experience of life. That's very different when you've offloaded the drudgery part of it to AI. You're still getting it done. You're still doing it, but it's fun to get that stuff done. This, like you said, this buddy partner, that you can talk with, even if you just want to complain and be like, business is rough and I don't know what to do and the world's spinning. Like, I have these conversations with AI because otherwise they're in my head and I need them out of my head and address. If I don't have a mastermind group or something, which is another way to do that, obviously groups and communities, right? Listen to podcasts and everybody. But with AI, I can go to my little AI coach that I've built, and it can go like, all right, let's walk through this. Let's reframe this. Like, I get why you're thinking about it like this. Could it also this?
Yeah.
And I guess it could. All right, never mind. And now I'm back. And so I can feel what I need to feel without bottling it down or going, no, I'm blinders, hustle, all the stuff that everybody else does. I don't have to do that anymore because AI can help me address, kind of put a bow on it and then move on.
So a friend of mine created the Future You AI thing that you do. And so it's multi-leveled. You have to answer all these questions, take that input and then put it into this other thing that has a prompt that's, this long and all that. And then now it becomes the future you. Like, let's say, you're 85 years old. It's already done all this stuff, had all the success, gone through all the pitfalls. And then you can ask it questions. Gosh, I just don't know what to do about this. And then it's, oh, well, I remember when I was there, this is what you do. Yes. It's not so bad. Like you say, it can become your own coach. I know Tony Robbins cloned himself and he has become, now he's selling his AI coaching where he calls you, but it's his AI him and you're telling your stuff and he asks you questions and then gives you his advice, but it's not him. It's crazy.
Yep. And I created a digital twin, and I don't publicly sell the digital twin, right? Because that's not what it's made for. It's made for the AI to be like, oh, I know how Mercer thinks. But the way I did it was I got clear on the result. I ping pong prompted it. I said, okay, I want to try to create a digital twin. What questions and how do we do it? It's like, oh, here's all these different questions. Cool. Let's create the prompt that's going to create the questions for the digital twin. Then I created another prompt that would answer all the questions, like would research me. Here's my LinkedIn. Here's all the stuff about me. Goes and does a deep research report on Mercer. And then goes, okay, now I want to know about Mercer. Now what I know about these digital twin questions, let's answer them. Yeah. And I just went through and made sure they were, and adjusted stuff. Like one of the things it got wrong was public speaking. I love public speaking. Bigger the crowd, the better. But most people don't. So when it initially was like, oh, Mercer doesn't like public speaking. I'm like, nope, we're going to correct that. Yeah. Right. So you're not letting AI, and this is the other mistake I think people do. They just let AI run with it and kind of assume it's going to be right. But you always have to have human in the loop.
You definitely have to edit it. My one person was saying, well, it's the 10-80-10 rule. But I was like, yeah, I guess. And then I was like, well, when you write a book, it's more like the 20-60-20 rule. And then I'm like, no, like the 30 and 40-30 rule. right? It's going to
Yeah.
come up with this because you really have to put your own stories. You have to put your own input. You got
Yes.
to read through the whole thing. And you know what? I don't know if you've noticed this lately, but I'll have like I was having it write, I think it was a proposal for the podcast pitching thing that we have now. We have this automated pitching that we're doing for people.
Oh,
And
love.
so I had it write up the proposal of everything. And I go, hey, I need you to add these 3 things in there. And it rewrote it and it made it smaller and shorter and less robust. I'm like, you are so lazy. Like you were supposed to keep and I said, no, rewrite it again, keep everything, just add this
Right.
in there. And yeah, it's like you have to slap it. It's like kids, they get lazy after they do it.
It's like getting clear on the result, right? Because it's like, be careful what you ask for because you're going to get it. You got it. So you think, okay, what did I tell it to do that? And you're like, well, I guess I didn't tell it not to so I didn't say everything that's in there is useful. We want to keep it. Let's do that. In addition, please add these. So then it would do it.
But it still didn't.
Right?
I said, keep everything the
still
same, but it's still. And when we were writing our book, so we uploaded a bunch of our content and speeches and all this stuff to start the book. And again, as we got further into the chapters, the less and less content there was in each.
Yeah.
And so then we had to, a little bit and say, hey, do this better. But
yeah. Yeah. And like you said, that's the human going, did I get the intended to get? That's exactly right. To make sure it works.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Are you doing any video editing? Yeah.
We are, yes, with Opus. We use a lot for social media. So that's a popular tool that's out there now.
Yeah.
There are platforms that are starting to do that too.
Yeah.
And this is the problem with the features. They're probably won't be around in 10 years, but for now you use them,
Yeah.
So Opus Clip's really good on social media stuff. Riverside Automatic as well.
Right.
When you record video, things like that. We still use, for the most part, when we're doing like our courses, our lessons, that sort of thing, we still use Camtasia. So we'll record them on Zoom or Google Meet or something like that. Raw videos go into Camtasia. Then we'll edit in Camtasia. But even Camtasia now is starting to do AI generated talking head character, give scripts like Hey Jen, right? So it's like, and this, I never would have thought that was going to be in like a movie creator kind of video editing software, but that's where it's all going. So now I expect more and more of AI features to start going into video. Vimeo does like what Descript does. Descript's another great tool, for editing, where you can change the text and it changes the mouth all of a sudden. That stuff's amazing. It's so simple and yet so useful because it's so hard to edit a jump cut to make it fit, and back in the day, I remember doing that with to the millisecond gun. Oh, it's not quite right. And now this one's, it's just Vimeo now does that, right? We can go to Vimeo, change it. So there's so many tools that are making this easier and easier and easier. So for anybody that's, I tried this last year, it's too complicated. Totally, I'm with you. Try it now.
Yeah.
Because it's different. It's changes. And if it's too complicated now, try it next week. Yeah. Like it's that fast that things are changing.
A friend of ours, because there's controversy of, if it's the virtual you, I'm going to know that it's not real. Yeah. And so our friend who actually first got us into podcasting 10 years ago, he's on LinkedIn and it says virtual Paul. So it's virtual him. So you're not like, oh, it's phony. Hey, this is virtual Paul, and this is what I'm going to tell you today. I go, that's crazy that it's got there. Yeah. And I'm still tempted to do, we haven't done it yet, but I want to do like an animated video of Jen and I about our company, do a couple sizzles and do that and see what that looks like, just to go through the process. I think that's part of the thing that people are afraid of. They don't want to spend the time to mess around with it and go in there. And so if it doesn't work the first time, keep messing around and figuring it out how it works. I think that's the key. Just make mistakes, have it look like it's soulless, and then keep doing it and use your ping pong.
Exactly right.
Too. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like rinse and repeat. That's exactly right. Like, for example, in automation, right? So like right now, what I'm doing is kind of from the owner's perspective is looking at the entire team. We've got roughly 10 people on the team.
Yep.
So everything that team is doing, I feel like the kid from The Sixth Sense, right? Where it's like, I see dead people, except I see workflows. I see workflows everywhere. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, what is the workflow they're doing? And to your point, do they have to be the one who copies and pastes and put it in the spreadsheet? Or can we get a automation that copies and pastes and put it in the spreadsheet? Well, that might be a 30-second thing for them to do. And that's why they're doing it. Because they're going, it's faster for me to do it. Yeah, but you do it 35,000 times a week.
Right.
So that times 30 seconds, you're spending hours doing this. You just don't realize it because you spend it in a minute or two a time. Yeah. You think it's not going to be because I think this is worth, looking at and saying, yeah, it's going to take you maybe 2 hours to figure out how to get AI to copy and paste something into a spreadsheet. But to your point, now you know how to do that.
Yeah.
So that 2 hours, yes, it took you, instead of spending a minute to just do the work, it took you 2 hours to figure out how to get it done. You now have freed up all the future 30 seconds that you have.
Yeah.
You freed up all the ones that any other team member could possibly have, because now anybody that needs to do that specific thing, you have an automation for.
Yes.
And you've learned how to automate. So you start going, oh, well, now I know that. I wonder what else I can do. One automation leads to the next automation idea.
Yeah.
And you do start going, okay, I am going to take some of these automations might take me 7 or 8 hours of just focused time thinking them through and process mapping them and getting them all down. But when you do that, you've now, if that took an hour and it took you 12 hours to figure out how to save an hour, you've saved hundreds and thousands of hours going to your future self. Thanks you, right? Because now you can think about the next new offer idea or how to make your product even better, or all the stuff that AI isn't going to automate.
Yeah.
Right. That's the stuff we should be figuring out where to stay. And everything that can be automated, we give to AI and tools like Zapier or Make or MindPal or N8N or any other millions of tools that do that stuff now.
And I love it. I think the challenge would be is pick one thing, look at it and say, what is the process that we're doing here? How can I automate it? Let me monkey around and see if there is a way to automate it. What's the best way to do it? And even if it didn't work, but your mind starts thinking differently, you're retraining your mind to do those things. So I love all that. I could just go on. We could have a whole nother show and keep going on, Chris. Tell people where they can find you and connect with you.
Absolutely. So anybody interested in the measurement marketing side of things, and knowing the numbers, knowing what to do with your numbers, just over at measureu.com. It's measure with the letter U. So measureu.com. And if you really want to go into the AI automations.
Awesome. Say the AI automation, because it's slowed up on my end. So I don't know if they got it all or not.
Oh, no problem. So yeah, profitschool.com is where we would go to. If anything, you're wanting to learn AI and automation, that's profitschool.com. And then again, earlier we talked about /AI guide. Yeah. That's where everybody can get those free ping pong prompts and play around with that.
Terrific. Terrific. All right, everyone. I hope my mind was blown again. I learned a couple new great things, and I just love learning about new innovation and technology. And if you haven't embraced it yet, you need to, because otherwise you're going to be left behind. So training your mind now and thinking differently. Just remember, they called it the intranet on the Today Show when it first came out. So you don't want to be that guy. So get on ChatGPT, get on some of these other platforms that we mentioned and talked to today, and start embracing it. And it's not going away, and it's going to happen even faster than the internet happened. So join the moment, join the new technology world. I'm Melanie Johnson. Thanks, Chris, for coming today. And if you're all thinking about writing a book and want to become a bestseller, we keep bestseller award-winning authors. We help you write, publish, and market your book. So reach out to us. Just hit that author submission button at eliteonlinepublishing.com. We'll see you next time. Hey, are you looking to increase your revenue, build credibility, and elevate your brand? This podcast is brought to you by Elite Online Publishing, an innovative publishing and full-spectrum marketing company. They will publish and market your book to make it a #1 bestseller. Becoming an author is the best way to market your business. So contact them at eliteonlinepublishing.com today. All of their authors become #1 bestsellers.